okay? Around the inside where we don't want to go back into the eye to cause damage, we're going to use stuff like absorbable sutures. Unless you're going to fix something in place, again, you want to use non-absorbable if you're going to let something heal on its own. If you want to fix it in place, it needs to be there for a while, you use non-absorbable. Okay, again, you want that cataract to stay in place and not to move, you're going to use stay type sutures, okay? And then it's all going to be different, guys, because, again, go to school to become a surgeon, you're definitely going to know how to use those sutures and which type of body. And really, at that point, it's recommended to be used in a certain way. Okay. All right.
So for the eye, it's mostly absorbable.
For the eyes, both absorbable and non-absorbable.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So before we get to that, let me show you guys the needles real quick. All right. You guys notice there's different types of needles. You guys have been looking out.
Cheat sheet.
All right. Where's my purple marker?
Right there.
All right. So the eye. Again, you guys pretty much know the eye now, right? You guys been reading on it?
A little bit.
AMP and stuff?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Did you guys pass anything yet? All right, so you know the eye, again, you got that posterior body, right? That posterior chamber. And then in here you also got your anterior, but inside you also got two little chambers too. Usually aqueous humor here, and then vitreous humor, okay? Why is that different? Aqueous humor is usually a little thicker, okay? Over here it gives you more of a balance and space that can hold on to the shape of your eye, and also holding on to that retina and choroid body. In here it's a little thicker because we have a lens and muscles that work and stretch so that we can allow, kind of calibrate the light that's coming in so that we can get a better picture back here. So there's a lot of important structures in here, correct? Okay, especially in this first part. So we need to continue to keep that. Again, with most of these surgeries, we end up going in here. Over here, you got to do some sort of tenotomy, again, tenometer type pressure so we can make sure the eye is still that same viable pressures, okay? So we don't want to cause any damage, so we got to use the appropriate sutures, okay? So when you guys look at those needle packs, you're going to get a little diagram on top of the needle itself. You remember, it usually shows you the size of the needle there. It has a picture, and it's usually almost an actual representation of the needle that's inside. If you guys notice that, you'll see the needle ones are super tiny and the longer ones are long. The big ones will actually show you the shape of that big needle. Now, the little diagram on top is usually a couple little diagrams, usually like 4 or 5 different ones. It's usually going to be a circle. You guys seen that one? Flies, because it's a taper blunt, meaning there's no point there. The next one that you guys probably have seen has a little point in the middle. This represents you staring at the needle directly, like if it's the barrel of a gun. The needle is pointing towards you. So in this case, it's blunt, meaning it has no point. It's like my finger, it has no point. So there's no point here. This next one does have a point. That means it has a point so it can puncture through, but the rest of it is round so it can slide through, kind of giving you that taper action when we talked about that sweater, right? This is a taper needle. Puncturing point, and then a round body so it can squeeze through. This is usually used on internal organs, right? Again, we don't want to create a rip or tear while applying the suture. So you have these other needles where you do want to create a rip or tear. Okay? That's when you see this triangle, okay? What does the triangle represent? The triangle represents that there is a cutting edge here, okay? That means there's a flat base and a pointy end. There's still a needle point here, and we're staring straight down the barrel of that needle. This is where it's going to poke through, and this is where the rest of the suture is going to cut whatever tissue you're going through. This is a conventional cutter. Then you have a reverse cutter, which has a reverse triangle. Now the cutting point is over here. You're still staring at the barrel of the needle, but now the cutter is on the bottom half, meaning it's going to cut stuff down below. So again, if I give you guys the needle here, here's the needle, here's the sledge down part, here's the rest of this. This is the point that you're staring at here. and then this becomes the body. So in this case, your cutter is up here. This one, your cutter will be here. So again, if you're using this, your cutting type edge is here. If you're using cutter, it's on this side of the body. Am I starting to make sense a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So with the pyramid shape of the needle, is it all even, like symmetrical, or is it more of an isosceles pyramid?
From here. Okay, well, here.
Well, no, well, the isosceles, it has like the two small and like too long and small. Is it like that? Because you said one point is only where the cutting side is. That's what I was wondering.
This point, the cut starts from here to the back of the body. Okay, so the triangle is shaped from here all the way towards the back. Okay, so it's not like triangle, 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 triangle. It's the start of a triangle and then it goes all the way through. Okay. So again, on this portion, the cutter is up here. This portion is the cutter down here. You guys will start noticing this now when you guys pick up the needles. Hopefully you do. Take a look at this and you guys have an idea of blunt, taper, conventional cutting, reverse cutting. So again, we're up here, this is skin, and we use this suture.
Is this for only cataract or is it general ophthalmic?
So, we're on any tissue and we're using a conventional cutter. Okay? We use a taper, we're fine, because all it does is create a hole here, and then it's a round body, and then it creates another hole over here. It doesn't do nothing but just push this through here. If we use a conventional cutter, then it's going to leave a little small cut here. Okay? So we need to tie this on the top. What happens when we now pull this up to tie?
Break.
It's going to continue ripping. You guys ever had a rip on a piece of paper, you follow your finger, it'll continue to rip. So the same thing's happening with the tissue. If you use a conventional cutter on tissue that you need to salvage this way, it's not going to work. As soon as you pull up, it's going to tear. Continue to tear with the tissue, and then it's not going to work. So on skin, we like using a reverse cutter. So what does that mean? It allows you to push through with the cutter, and when we tie, it's going to give us the support because we didn't tear up this way. Okay? So you cut because skin is tough. So that cutter is there so you can cut through, allowing the suture to follow. But as soon as you pull up, you didn't create tension or a tear this way, so it's going to hold. Okay? So when would you use this one? You'd use them on things like tendons, stronger tissue where it's going to stay anyways, and it doesn't matter whether you go up or down. You just need to get a needle through. Peritoneum is a good example, so you can just get through it. Okay? Same thing, but on peritoneum, we want to make sure we don't harm anything on the bottom. So sometimes we just end up using the taper just to be safe. Fascia, we might use this guy. Okay? Once we get closer to the skin, we're going to end up using this way. When you want traction that's going to go up this way, you want reverse cutters. So a lot of plastic surgery, reverse cutters because of this action. Okay? Make sense, kind of? All right. But now you're at the eye. So you got important structures here on the outside, and you got important structures here on the inside. So now we can't use these type of cutters. And that's why eyes are going to have a specialty spatula cutter. Which again, the needle point will be here, but the cutters will be on the side. Okay? So that way when you go inside, the cuts won't be here or here. They'll actually be here within the body. So that this works. These needles, how they work, and you'll notice they don't have a strong grip on that gastrovagal needle holder because it allows the needle to snake its way through instead of making a precise cut. It has those side cutters, so just like a snake, it cuts through the body and not anterior or posterior to that suturing technique. So it allows it to move through the body, not damaging anything above or below that. And that's why these are special needles for the eye. They all have the needle point to get through, but once they get through, we need to continue that cut. And it's either going to be traditional cutting, reverse cutting, or side cutting. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Good. Any questions? All right, good. We're gonna continue with sutures, guys, as best as we can. Next thing we're gonna go over is the suture sizes too. Okay. All right. Anyways, why are they small for the eye? Should be a simple question, right?
The eye is small.
Okay, the eye is small and delicate. The structures are small and delicate. Even the globe itself has a lot of structures. There's sclera. There's again that, not the carrot. I want to say the keratome, which is cornea, and that's very special too. So everything is a lot of special structures where we got to individualize the eye and its structures. Okay, so it's a little. Those of you guys that went through the anatomy class and had the eyeball, you guys see how much stuff is in there, right? All right. So again, make sure those sutures again are the appropriate ones. So we have those. Notice that when you guys pick them up. I don't have a magnifying glass, okay? But take a look at those as close as you guys can. Don't put them in your eye, okay? But take a look as close as you can. You'll see the little spatula cuts on the side. All right. I think that's it. Let's go ahead and practice with those 2 at a time on each table. So let's set up 2, 2, and 2.